I am Marcus Green, 28 years old, living in the bustling city of Rotterdam, Netherlands. Growing up in a vibrant place filled with modern architecture and a rich history, I always found solace along the winding canals or in the lively markets. My friends would often describe me as the kind of person who wore my heart on my sleeve. I am sensitive, passionate, and like many people in their 20s, a bit naive. A few years ago, my heart led me down a treacherous path, one filled with betrayal and ultimately revenge. It all began during the summer of 2010. I was young and foolishly in love, engaged to a guy who I thought would be my forever. I spent every summer in the States with my mom, who had roots there, and I was eager to share my life with him. The idea of love, loyalty, and a future together felt like a dream, until reality came crashing down. When I returned from the States that summer, I discovered the truth about my boyfriend. He had cheated on me all summer long, bringing another girl into my house, the very place I had envisioned us starting a life together. My heart shattered. The betrayal felt like a knife in my chest. I confronted him, and he begged for forgiveness, promising to change and take me back. But I was done. There was no possibility of trust left. In that moment, I felt something shift. I could either wallow in the pain, or I could find a way to make him understand the hurt he had caused. Within our social circle, there was a girl named Lisa. She was charismatic, beautiful, and openly bisexual. We shared a bond of friendship, and while I knew she had a crush on me, I also sensed my ex had taken notice of her charm. This gave me an idea, one that was as bold as it was reckless. I approached Lisa and laid out my plan. I told her everything that had happened during my summer away, the lies, the infidelity, the way he had shattered my trust. I suggested that it would be amazing if she could get him to fall for her, and then at the most unexpected moment pull the rug out from under him. Her smile widened at the thought, and I realized my little scheme was just the kind of revenge we both needed. As Lisa and I conspired, I watched from the sidelines as their relationship blossomed. She played her part perfectly, and soon they were inseparable. They went on dates, shared secrets, and built a connection that made my heart swell with a mix of satisfaction and impatience. 6 months later, she told me he confessed his love for her. It was almost too easy. I could hardly believe how naive he was. This was the perfect setup. One evening, as fate would have it, I held a spare key to his apartment. Lisa and I went to his place before he returned from work. We made sure to look as if we had just stumbled into an intimate moment. There we were, locked in a passionate embrace on his bed, waiting for him to come home. When he stepped through the door, the look of confusion rapidly morphed into horror was something I will never forget. He shouted, accusing me of deceiving him as if I were the villain in his story. Meanwhile, Lisa, unfazed by his tantrum, stood there, a smirk playing on her lips, and calmly responded, "I was never into you, you cheating fool." Watching his face crumple, his eyes filled with disbelief and rage, was pure magic. It amounted to a combination of sadness and pity. A man reduced to tears because he was finally tasting his own medicine. The realization that the betrayal he had dealt me was finally being handed back shook him to his core. It was a poetic twist of fate that I savored long after I left. Following that incident, he distanced himself from our friend group, isolated by shame and humiliation. It was a harsh, if not deserved, consequence of his actions. I felt liberated, having turned my pain into something empowering. The scale had tipped, and I was no longer the one left broken-hearted. Justice had been served in the most ironic of ways. Years passed, and life went on as life does. I found closure and peace in my life, believing that chapter was firmly closed. Then out of the blue, 15 years later, I received a friend request from him on a social media platform. The audacity of that action left me speechless. He was reaching out as if nothing had happened, as if we could just pick up where we left off. I could not help but chuckle at the ridiculousness of it all. As I stared at the friend request, I felt a surge of twisted satisfaction, a reminder of how far I had come. He had attempted to reconnect with me, but I knew I would never give him the opportunity to hurt me again. The weight of the past had lifted, and I found joy in the thought that while some people never learn, I had transformed my pain into a power that would always remain with me. So with a playful smirk, I declined his request. I moved on, not just from him but from the shadow of that painful past, knowing that the best revenge was simply living well, even if I had left him behind in the dust.